Chapter 2. Lair. The line moved slow as rot, a single file of tired men waiting for a handful of crowns and a nod from Kyle. The quartermaster sat behind a rough plank table, ink-stained fingers shuffling coins and scratching tallies in his ledger. He didn't look up much, didn't need to. He knew every man by the stink of his sweat and the sound of his boots in the mud. The clink of coin was the only music. Every man already knew the tune, 60 crowns if you were still breathing, less if you owed for rations, armor repairs, or the healer's tinctures. Cale made sure of that. He was the kind of man who could count a man's sins faster than his coins. 3 days since Belgot. 3 days since the captain decided the Worm Company would camp along the coast, a quiet stretch of wind-bent grass and pale cliffs that fell into the gray sea. Looked peaceful from a distance. Up close you could still see the bones of old walls half buried in the dirt, stone ribs of something long dead. The sea wind moaned through the gaps, and sometimes it almost sounded like voices. The air tasted of salt and ash. The sea never shut up, always rolling, always whispering. Some of the men said it reminded them of home. The rest said it reminded them of the dead. Ahead of me, Mud counted his coins and grunted something about short pay again. Behind me, Wick hummed that same off-key tune he'd been butchering since the march. The sound of it made my teeth itch. Kyle's voice cut through the wind. Hark, 60 crowns. He slid the stack across the table. The coins were dull with grime, each one nicked and blackened. Company pay always was. You could smell the blood on them, old and faint, like something that never quite washed off. I pocketed the pay, already thinking about what it wouldn't buy. Behind Cale, the captain stood overlooking camp, arms folded, cloak snapping in the wind. He hadn't said much since Belgot. Rumor was he'd cut down the burgomaster himself before the fire took the manor. But in this company, rumors were like lice. Everyone had them, and no one wanted to admit it. The camp sprawled across the cliffside like a wound. Tents sagged in the sea wind, their canvas stained with old rain. Armor hung on lines to dry. Horses chewed at scrub grass that didn't want to grow here. Mole was patching his boots again, muttering curses at his thread. Rusty sat with his back to a wagon, Whetstone whispering against his sword. The company looked alive, but not rested. Never rested. Mud caught up beside me, jingling his pay. 65 crowns. Not bad for a riot, eh? He earned more for seniority. Didn't stop him from bitching every week. I shrugged. Depends who you ask. Eno's not spending his. That shut him up. The wind filled the silence, dragging the smell of salt and old fire through camp. Out to sea, the sun hung low, bleeding orange across the water, like the end of a wound that never healed. Down by the shore, Jester and Red were hauling driftwood for the evening fire. I could hear them bickering even over the waves. There was comfort in that, in the noise, the repetition. A mercenary's rhythm. Fight, march, get paid, forget. By tomorrow we'd be heading north to Margin, a salt-bitten shithole clinging to the coast. Some noble house ruled there. Name too long and too proud for a place that smelled like dead fish and brine. The captain said it was a staging point. That usually meant there'd be work soon. Work always came soon. For fuck's sake, Spider cursed as a gull relieved itself right onto his kettle helm. Rusty didn't turn, but his shoulders shook with laughter. Aye, keep your eyes up, lads. The white demons are amongst us. Spider grimaced, wiping the filth away with a rag somehow filthier than the bird shit. I fucking hate the coast. Join the club, I muttered. We were given leave for the night. Rusty told us not to get too drunk, said there'd likely be work come dawn. That didn't stop anyone. Orders like that never do. The tavern we found smelled like every other. Smoke, sweat, and something sour living under the floorboards. The worms packed the back room, shoulder to shoulder around sticky tables, tankards sloshing, dice clattering. For a time we kept out of trouble, until the ale did what ale always does. Howler picked the wrong sailor to rob. Big bastard, hands like anvils. When the shouting started, Howler threw up his palms. "You're mistaken, sir. I've never stolen a thing in my life, honest." The confrontation ended when Spider and Howler led the poor fool outside toward the pig pens. That was smart. Pigs don't gossip. Mud, drunk and grinning, decided Mole needed company for the night. Took less than a minute to find him a woman. The poor bastard turned crimson while the others jeered and clapped. He was too kind for this life. Maybe that's why we liked him. He reminded us of something we weren't anymore. The lieutenant surprised us when he pulled up a chair at our table. "This seat taken?" No one answered, so I did. "No, sir. Have at it." He nodded and set his helmet down. "Thanks, Hark. I'll have what you're having," Mud smirked. "Look at that. The brass drinking with the boots." The lieutenant took a long drink, eyes tired but not cruel. "Without the boots, I'd be walking barefoot." That got a few chuckles. The tension bled out of the room, one swallow at a time. For a while, it almost felt like something close to normal. Almost. By the time the candles guttered out, the company was sprawled across benches and tables, snoring through their hangovers before they'd even begun. We broke camp at first light. Half the company still stank of ale and piss. The captain rode ahead with the lieutenant, both silhouettes cut against the pale dawn. Word was we'd taken a contract from a local noble, something about a cave along the cliffs. Red trudged beside me, eyes like piss holes in the snow. "What exactly are we clearing this cave of? Wolves? Bandits? Seems a bit pointless. Let him have the damned hole." Spider tugged his cloak tighter. "Heard the lieutenant mention monster last night when he was drunk." "Probably just a bear," Red muttered. Rusty, marching a few paces ahead, didn't turn. His voice came low and flat. "A bear with a 2,000-crown bounty." That shut everyone up. The only sounds after that were boots in the sand and the sea gnawing at the rocks. The cave waited for us like an open throat. I'd been in one before. It hadn't gone well. They never do. The lieutenant dismounted and spoke to his sergeants. Then the sergeants turned to us. Rusty spoke first, as always. "My platoon's going in. Knowles stays outside for resupply and reinforcement. Cave's too tight for an army. We didn't like it, but we followed orders. Heavy infantry went first, shields raised. I was behind them with Raider, Mud, Abel, Grin, Mole, Red, Spider, Howler, Wick, Buck, Crow, and Rusty." Rusty struck his torch. "No talking. No bitching. No touching anything. You see the target, you call it out first." Mud grunted. "Would help if we knew what we were looking for." "Something big and mean," Rusty said. Spider snorted. "Then we can just kill Raider and go home." No one laughed. "Quiet, focus," Rusty hissed. The air changed as we went deeper, thicker, wetter. Tree roots hung down like black veins, dripping. The smell hit next. Rotten copper and something else that made my stomach twist. I threw up my breakfast. Dried fish. The torchlight reached farther and caught on the pale curve of something on the ground. Bones. Too many. Dozens. The walls were painted with what was left of men, a tangle of limbs and entrails. "Gods be good," Grin whispered, spear trembling. Rusty moved ahead, face like stone, torch raised high. "Keep line." Shields up. Something shifted in the dark, big, heavy. The ground itself seemed to move. Red lifted his torch, eyes wide. Something! I saw something. No one doubted him. The cave breathed around us. Rusty backed toward us, mace drawn. Formation. We closed ranks, shields locked, spears braced, breath held. Silence. Then the faintest tremor underfoot. Grin started to say something, then stopped. The sound was wet, crunching. His voice turned to a gargle, then the screaming started. The creature moved through the dark like a nightmare pulled from fever. Torchlight caught its shape, half horse, half man, all wrong. Its body bloated and pale, ribs stretched like harp strings beneath gray flesh. Legs too long, joints bending wrong, hooves slick with blood. The face, human, or something pretending to be, smiled as it swallowed what was left of Grin. Rusty roared, "Circle the beast! Nets! Nets, damn you!" Red lunged, drove his spear deep into its gut. "Fuck! Fuck!" He let go and stumbled back as the spear stayed lodged. The thing screamed, a sound like metal tearing. Mole and Abel threw their nets, but the creature slammed its weight against the wall, crushing Abel flat. The rest of us surged forward, hacking, thrusting, shouting. The fight became chaos. Blood, fire, panic. It took wounds that should have killed it twice over and kept moving. Finally, it howled and fled deeper down the tunnel, dragging spears and torn netting with it. We chased it. That was a mistake. The ambush came quick, from above. The creature dropped like a landslide, crushing Buck into paste. Its hollow eyes flicked toward us, mouth stretched into something almost like joy. It bolted again, this time up toward the entrance. We followed the echo of its screams and our own. Outside daylight hit my eyes like a hammer. The beast lay sprawled across the dirt, twitching. Half the company surrounded it, bloodied and broken. The captain stood over it with the lieutenant. Neither spoke. The order came silent, a gesture. A few men stepped forward and hacked the head clean. Noel wiped blood from his blade beside me. "A gore mare," he said, spitting on it. "Half mare, half man. All pain in the ass." We loaded the head into a wagon with the dead, another wagon for the wounded. I counted 5 of the latter, 8 of the former. Better ways to go, I thought. We reached Magen by nightfall. The town's lamps glowed sickly orange in the mist. The company was quiet. That's how we honor the fallen, by not speaking, at least until Howler broke the silence. Couldn't take my eyes off that chest they gave the captain. Must have been 300 crowns. Easy. If you were captain, I said, we'd have lost double the men. Spider grinned. Aye, and doubled the payout, too. He wasn't wrong. Raiders sat alone that night. He'd joined with Grin years back. Now he just stared at the fire, not drinking, not speaking. We left him to it. I found a woman before dawn. She talked too much after. I didn't talk enough. She cooked me something hot and called it kindness. I didn't correct her. The knock came in the morning. Crow and the lieutenant stood in the doorway. "Sir?" I asked. The lieutenant glanced down the hall, voice low. "You're on the next contract, Hark. You and a few others. Noble abduction. Ransom." His tone left no room for questions. I sighed. "What's the pay?"